I've played 1 month of Everafter Falls. This is a brand new farming sim that releases on June 20th to Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Thank you to the team at Everafter Falls for providing a key to me so I could play early and make this video for you. I also have 2 keys for Everafter Falls to give away. So please see the pinned comment on this video or check the description to see how to enter to win either a Switch key or a Steam key to the game. If you haven't heard of Everafter Falls, it's a farming sim where you rediscover the simple life. There's farming, fishing, foraging, collecting, bug catching, and more. The game has a very mysterious trailer and the description is pretty suspicious as well. The Steam page reads, "You wake up to discover your previous life was nothing but a simulation. You've no memory of this place, your quaint animal neighbors, the refreshing wind and fragrant flowers, the little farm you had tucked away just outside of town. None of it. But once you spend a little time with your forgotten friends and your helpful pet, doesn't Everafter Falls just feel perfect? Isn't it where you always wanted to be?" It sounds pretty interesting, so let's dive in. Here is the starting screen of the game. It's very cute, and once you click play, you can choose to start a save file. The game can be played as a single player or in co-op with 2 players. I am playing alone, so I went ahead and chose 1 player. Then you can choose from 3 farm layouts. There's standard, mini, or moat. I was tempted to go with the standard, but I ended up choosing the moat because it honestly just kind of looked the coolest. Next up is character creation. I am definitely not a big fan of the art style of this game, but I chose to create my character as well as I could. There's a few skin tones. I think it's always nice to have a color slider, especially for skin tones, but in this case, there is not one. I went with reddish hair and a purple and pink shirt, and my pet is gray. Day 1 begins for me as I am launched into the game. It reads, "One rainy day somewhere on Earth," and then my character is revealed, walking into the road and getting run over by a car. So what a cozy way to start the game. I see a message that says, "Simulation over, initiating wake-up sequence." And then I am awoken by a dog named Dog, who tells me, "Oh no, you're not dead." Well, not here at least. And the dog tells me that it'll take time for my memory to come back and that I've just woken up from a simulation of a life on Earth, which Finn is also there. Finn is a frog and refers to Dog as boss. Dog shows me where I live and tells me that I've been gone a little over a year now. Of course, as the player, I'm thinking, typical farming sim, getting introduced to a messy farm. Dog seems to read my mind and hints an Easter egg to Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, and even Animal Crossing. This really intrigued me. Dog doesn't seem to understand, so Finn jumps in to explain that I think that this seems really similar to games I've played on Earth. I kind of loved this line in the first part of the game, especially because anytime a new farming sim comes out, they're immediately compared to Stardew Valley, no matter what they look like. I don't know if this will help or hurt the game with this dialogue, but I particularly loved it and thought it was funny. Dog then brings me back inside to the computer and explains that the reason it could be bringing up similarities is because my simulation time on Earth was being influenced by my previous life here on Everafter Falls. Dog then wraps up his intro and tells me that he lives in a treehouse northeast of here, and that I should come see him when I get a moment. So now that the little intro to the game has finished up, I start my day on my own. I immediately notice that I have 3 tools in my inventory: a sword, a pickaxe, and an axe. Once I get outside, a new quest starts, and a bird drops a letter into my mailbox. I check the letter, and it's from Daisy, telling me to meet them outside the eastern exit of my farm at the animal center. So of course, I go the wrong way because I'm a curious and distracted little bean. But then I check my map and I find Daisy and I get myself redirected. I show up at the animal center and there's Daisy. Daisy asks if I remember my pet's name, so I name it after my dog on Earth, whose name is Bubbles. I then get a tutorial on how my pet can help me till soil and water plants. I thought this was a cool feature as I kind of hate the amount of time watering plants can take in farming sims. I leave Daisy's and I see a bin outside of Sid's store. I check and it's a shipment bin. I meet some of the locals until I see my quest lists and I remember that Dog asked me to come see them. I find Dog on the map and I head towards them. On the way, I discover the town's aquarium. I pick up a new quest from a cow named Calvin. And then I eventually find Dog. He asks me to go to his treehouse to get the red cup for him that is on his desk. As I am exploring the town looking for the treehouse, I discover an interesting portal, which starts a quest about a cursed Eve rune. I forgot all about Dog's house being a treehouse, and so I'm just going into every random NPC's house to look for this red cup to bring back to Dog. And as I'm exploring, I run into a book that describes the Eve rune. And I check in so many houses for this cup until I finally see the treehouse and remember, oh yeah, Dog lives in a treehouse. I find his red cup and I deliver it to him. And in return, I get to choose between 2 different cards. One card will extend my curfew by 1 hour, and the other will guarantee rain every 6 days. I choose to extend my curfew by 1 hour because I've played a few farming sims and I know that I often need an extended curfew. Now it's dark, so I head to bed, and that concludes my first day in Everafter Falls. A very interesting day indeed. I wake up on day 2 and I immediately start foraging items that I find and I place them in the shipment bin in front of Sid's shop. I notice the card that I got from Dog is in my inventory and I realize that I need to eat it in order to get the effect. And then soon enough I run into Daisy, who hands me a hurt pigeon that they found and tells me to take it to Pip and Pepper's. So I find Pip and Pepper on the map and I go and deliver the pigeon. I notice a shredder in the room there and I shred the letters in my inventory. I also meet Pepper, who tells me that pigeons often forget how to fly here. I head back to Daisy to complete the pigeon quest and I get to choose from 1 to 3 cards. I end up choosing the pet training card because it lets my pet water a larger area for me and I thought that might be useful early in the game. I then check my map and head towards Freya, who has a quest for me. Freya gives me some chili seeds and advises me to water them every day before the season ends and to return to her with the crop once it grows. I head towards my home right away and I find a place to plant them. I then check my mail to find that Pip and Pepper sent me some carrot seeds, so I plant those as well. This is also when I notice that I don't have an energy meter. I take a look at my quests and I choose to find Dawn and learn more about the Eve rune. They tell me that I need a moonflower for the rune and that they only bloom during full moon at the end of each season, but we can't really wait that long. She says, ask Tobias if he has one. So I find Tobias on the map and I get a moonflower from him. And then I go back to Dawn, who says she'll remove the curse from the Eve rune, and she tells me it'll be done by the morning, so therefore I head to bed. Day 3, I wake up to a letter from Dawn saying that she's lifted the curse and to come see her. First, I water my crops, or should I say Bubbles waters my crops. Then I went to find Dawn. She tells me to enter the rune into the Eve pillar near the portal, and she offered me 1 of 3 cards for completing the quest. I chose Gwen's light as I assumed it would emit a light around me, kind of like the rings do in Stardew. I found the portal on the map and turned over the rune to the Eve pillar. This opened the portal, so I went in, and a voice said, "Ugh, a human? Foolish to step foot in here. Turn back while you can." So I turned back. Just kidding. I didn't. I noticed that I was given a health bar in the upper left-hand corner while I was in the portal, indicating that I could be about to face some enemies. I entered the next 2 rooms and did some combat and mining, and I quickly fainted. A little ghosty brought me home, and I saw a message saying, "And so we saved your life again. Just in the nick of time. Payment to be made in gold. A small amount is fine. And so 150 gold was taken from me. On day 4, the next day, I slept too soundly and I woke up later than usual. After watering my crops, I took a look at my quests and decided to go with the quest I got on the first day about a fishing rod. I looked at my crafting menu and I made one. Calvin's fishing rod quest was really something interesting. Instead of fishing in the water, I was to use the fishing rod to reach some mushrooms that were otherwise inaccessible. For completing this quest, I gained a fishing mod. I chose to increase the real gap size, and I honestly didn't know what any of these cards meant, so I went with that one. Calvin said it was his favorite, so I'm like, okay, cool. And I also kind of wondered if he said that about all of them, but I don't know, so I just assumed that he was telling the truth. The next resident I ran into was Amy. Amy had a quest for me. They said that I could install a weather contraption above my house to tell the weather for me. Amy told me to go to the workbench in their house to see what items I need to bring back to her. So I found Amy's workshop on the map and I headed over there. I found out that Amy will need 30 wood, 2 copper bars, and 5 rope. So I went outside and immediately started chopping wood, but then I soon found out that my pockets were full, so I ran up to Sid's to ship some items. I chopped some wood, and then I took a look at my crafting menu to see what I'd need to craft a furnace. I realized that for a furnace, I'm gonna need bricks, meaning I would also need a shell crusher to be able to make bricks. I had everything for a shell crusher except a black pippy shell. I had been selling all my shells at Sid's box prior to this, and then I went to bed. On day 5, I harvested my first crops, carrots. My chilies for the Freya quest were still growing though. I went to Sid's store to ship out my carrots and some other forageables. I scoured the beach, not really, it was pretty easy to find. And I found the black shell that I needed, and then I was able to craft the shell crusher. Then I kind of walked around aimlessly until I decided to empty out my inventory even more by shredding old mail at Pip and Pepper's. I also shipped more forageable items, and I was really wishing that I hadn't sold all my shells because I needed them for making bricks. I looked at my quest and saw some new quests. One was with Bram, who needed my help setting up a job board outside his workshop. And that quest required me to gather 50 wood for him. I also found Finn, who was the other quest. Finn had a quest where I needed to talk to Don to get a pixie bottle to bring back to him, because he had a pixie that was being loud and annoying around his house. It was getting late, so I went back to my house, I crafted a storage box, I chopped some trees for wood, and I headed to bed. On day 6, I woke up and I was on the look for seashells. I can often collect new ones each day because I live on the moat. This and watering my plants becomes a daily morning habit for me in the game, so often I wake up, I gather shells, and I water my plants, and then I get on with my day. On this day, I also realized that starfish and sand dollars can also be made into bricks. I tried the fishing mechanic, and at this time, I really thought that the fishing was difficult and that I wasn't going to be a fan of it, so I was like, I'm not going to really use it unless I have to. But later on, I start to understand it more, and I actually begin to like it, but at this point, I didn't really like it yet, and I was avoiding fishing. I took a look at my tasks, I watered the plants, and then I went looking for Dawn. I found Dawn to get the pixie bottle for Finn's quest. Dawn said, Finn said I owe him, didn't he? And she asked if I wanted to hear the story. I said yes. Dawn shared that 3 seasons ago, while she was gathering berries in the evening, Genius Finn decided to do some fishing. Finn doesn't notice that Dawn is there gathering berries, and Dawn doesn't mind because she doesn't want to be bothered anyway. But then suddenly, a huge shadow of a fish, probably the same one that took poor Calvin's leg, she says, was quickly approaching Finn. Dawn screams as the fish lunges out of the water toward Finn. Finn notices Dawn, jumps up, and he still never noticed the giant fish. Finn thinks that Dawn is in danger, and he does a karate kick right into her face. Because it's so dark out, Finn thinks he saved Dawn from pending danger, not knowing that it was actually Dawn who saved Finn from a giant fish. Ever since, Finn has had heroic bragging rights about this situation, which Dawn knows it's not true. She's actually the hero. Alas, Dawn gives me the pixie bottle and says it's for me as a favor and not for Finn. I run into Finn by the aquarium and I deliver the pixie bottle. He says he will deliver the pixies to me in the morning, as I might have some use for them. I checked my quests and remembered to collect more wood to help Bram with his job board quest. I also realized that I need rope for Amy's quest because I need a furnace to make copper, so first I'll need a spinning wheel to make rope. The spinning wheel is made with 20 pieces of wood and 2 bricks, and I added grass fiber to it in order to make rope. And then I headed to bed. On day 7, my rope was ready. I gathered some more shells around the moat. I checked the furnace recipe and I went to gather stone to use for the recipe. I need 1 more rope until I can build the furnace. I checked my quests and there is a new one with Sid. Funny enough, after all my hard work towards crafting this furnace, he says he'll give me one in exchange for crafting a signpost. So I crafted a signpost with 10 pieces of wood and then selected an item to display on it. I am not sure how to pick up placed items with the keyboard and mouse, and so I just left it there, randomly sitting there for the rest of my gameplay in this video, so don't mind that. I checked my mail and I found out that the job board that I helped Bram with is ready. I also got a pixie mailed back to me from my quest with Finn. I got 2 pixies from him. One can harvest wood and the other can mine rocks or materials. I used the harvesting wood one, but I wasn't sure how the mining one would work and I never ended up trying it, which I probably should have done because it probably would have been helpful to collect those resources. I wanted to start by putting copper in the furnaces, but I didn't have any coal. I need 1 piece of coal and 5 copper ores in order to make a copper bar in the furnace. I walked to Pip and Peppers to shred the letters that I no longer needed in my inventory. You can also sell these for 60 gold each, but I wanted to shred them for paper as I thought, well, maybe I'm gonna need the paper later on in the game. Then I foraged and shipped items and headed off to bed. Day 8 begins. I did my dailies, I checked my quest, which reminded me to water my plants because I saw that the chili plant quest that I am working on for Freya was still there. I went off to find Cedric to see what quest he had for me. He told me that I could craft a bug net, and he let me know that any blue stars next to items means that they're not yet in the museum. I had been to the museum previously, but I didn't even realize that it was a museum because I didn't really look around. But I found it on the map and delivered any blue star items that I had. I found that mechanic super helpful with the blue stars, and I really enjoy donating items to the museum. Cedric's quest was for me to catch any flutterfly. This took me a while to get to, so I kind of come back to it later. I went into the portal to find coal so I can make copper. Later on, I found out that there are places around town that you can also get coal, but I didn't really know that at this point. I also gathered as much copper as possible since I don't have an energy meter holding me back. I also realized that the sword I am using barely gives any damage, so I'll need to get a new weapon. Before heading to bed, I put some copper into the furnace. On day 9, during the wake-up review from the day before, I saw that the pixie delivered some wood. For most of my gameplay, I thought the pixie was dropping wood into my chest at home, but there's actually a place I'll find later on that the pixies are placing all of their gathered items. I gathered 2 copper bars for my furnaces and I got more copper bars started. I looked through my storage for undonated items. I wanted to donate them to the museum, but it doesn't open until 11 a.m., which seems pretty late. So I waited for it to open and then I donated my items. I went to Sid's to see if there's a better sword or weapon that I could buy, but I didn't see anything. But don't worry, I do figure it out soon. I went to the portal and I opened up some new areas. The portal dungeons are very interesting. I wish there was some type of pattern or system for knowing when I'll open up the next save point. I went home when my health started to get low. I refilled my makers again before heading to bed. On day 10, I woke up and I saw that Tobias has a quest for me. I watered my plants, still no chili plant blooming. I found palm fruit on the palm trees and I gathered that. I waited for the museum to open so that I could talk to Tobias about his quest. He said he'd give me a syrup tapper for the tree as long as I give him syrup in return. This is funny because I don't think I ever gave him syrup, but I promised that I would, so now I'm kind of scared. But hey, I got the tree tapper. I added the tapper to a tree by my house and refilled my makers while I was there. I shipped a few forageables at Sid's. I talked to Bram about upgrading my sword. The first upgrade takes 1,100 gold and 5 copper bars that I didn't have. I decided to work towards upgrading it. I caught my first fish somehow. I did some bug catching up at the upper beach, which I found out is a great place for foraging and getting bugs. I added the fish that I caught to the aquarium in town, and before heading to bed, I filled up the rope maker again. On day 11, I was able to start my upgrade for my sword. I donated new items to the museum, and I went into just the first layer of the portal to look for copper. I didn't find much, and I don't have my sword, so I left. I realized that I had a letter in my mailbox. I often had a hard time recognizing that a letter had been dropped in my box, so sometimes I missed them. I was given a treasure chest from Pip in the letter as an appreciation for helping the pigeon that I had rescued 10 days ago, but I need a key to open the treasure chest. After I placed the treasure chest on the ground, I wasn't sure how to move it after I placed it, and I don't know how to get a key to open it, so it just kind of stayed there. And then I went to bed a little bit early on day 11. Didn't do too much. I do like some dailies every day, so I did those and then kind of went to bed. Day 12, I received my sword in the mail. It only takes 1 day, which is so nice. I decided to test it out by going to the portal to make more progress and to gather some copper along the way. I stayed in the dungeons until I passed out, but this time I didn't have 150 gold to pay the spooklets, so I can't enter the dungeon again until I settle my bill. On day 13, my chilies had finally grown in. I handed over one to Freya and I gained 500 gold for this quest, which was crazy. I caught my first froggy with my net, and I started a new quest with Hersha. Hersha becomes one of my favorite storylines, so let's make sure we pay close attention to her. Hersha wants me to use the mixing bench in the bakery to mix flour and butter. Her goal is to teach me how to bake so that she can use the upstairs of her bakery as a cafeteria to serve others in town. I was able to buy flour from her shop, but I didn't have enough funds to get the butter, so I decided to revisit the quest another day. I shipped out some items before heading to bed. Yay! On day 14, I finally had everything for Amy's workbench quest. I delivered my items to her and she said she'd get started on the weather contraption. Then I went to the portal and I paid off my previous bill. I found a new save point while I was in the portal, and I should have just stopped there. I thought I had tried so hard not to faint this day, but then I ran right into spikes and passed out. I lost another 150 gold. It's day 15 and I'm halfway through my first month in Everafter Falls. If you've made it this far, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel if you haven't, and don't forget to like the video. I purchased and planted some strawberry seeds because I figured I would need to start making some more money, and crops should help with that. This is a farming game after all. I found an adorable soup puff and I caught it with my net. The description reads that you can combine soup puffs together with other soup puffs, and I knew there was a jar with a soup puff in the museum, so I brought it there and I combined them, and I cannot wait to see how big this soup puff will get. Then I went into the portal to try to progress through levels, but I died again, and it was right when things were getting interesting because I found a trapped pooklet, not spooklet, pooklet in there, but I wasn't able to save them since I passed out. On day 16, I was doing my dailies when I noticed that Daisy was waiting for me to start an event. I went and found her, and it was a duck festival. How cute. I talked to Hersha, and I was given a yellow duck for the race. During the race, you can throw stones at the other rubber ducks to hopefully get your duck into the lead. It was a bit difficult and I did not win, but that's okay. Later on, I went over to the tapper and I got my very first pine resin and I donated it to the museum, and then I went to bed. Day 17, I was very locked in with my daily tasks. My daily tasks include foraging, shipping, museum, and often going to the portal where the dungeons are. In the portal, I found a booklet. I was offered 3 cards, and while it was taking forever to choose, I lost out on my chance to choose a card because the enemies were still attacking me even though I was on the card choosing screen. So that sucked. I died and I lost out on that. And then I started day 18. Nothing too interesting happened today. Today was mostly foraging and dailies. I found a letter in my mail that was about the duck racing event, but I had never seen it. That was yesterday. I had another letter from Amy as well, and this one had the weather contraption in it, which I had forgotten about. I set it up by placing it on the wall in my house, and it allows me to see tomorrow's weather. On day 19, I woke up to a cutscene, or was it a dream? I wasn't sure the significance of this. Basically, Calvin tells Pete that he goes fishing to look not lazy, but he actually is lazy. Pete didn't like this idea because he doesn't care what other people think, so he kind of like stormed off, not wanting to do the fishing and saying that he wants to do whatever he wants to do. Other than the cutscene, I ended up finding a flutter fly and I caught it with my net. This was for Cedric's quest, if you remember me mentioning this quest much earlier in the video. This quest was actually very helpful to complete because I gained 3 health potions for completing it, which are gonna help a ton in the portal. I went into the portal and I got farther into the maze as I found another save point. I found my first boss-looking enemy, but I sadly lost to him, and I'm wondering how I can learn how to make my own health potions. On day 20, I had enough money to work on the Hersha baking quest, so now I had enough money to buy the butter and make raw bread base to complete that quest line. After showing Hersha the raw bread base, she suggested that we start our meal service again. And she told me to keep my eye out in my quest log for her cooking minigame, which happens 2 times a month. She also told me that I could donate cooking and baking items to the basement of the bakery. There are so many fun things to complete in this game, having the museum, the aquarium, and now the bakery. I had been finding a lot of silkworms, so I decided to try crafting a silkworm farm. I added the silkworms I had to the farm, and then I ended day 20. On day 21, I chopped grass and I waited for the museum to open. I completed the starfish collection, which was exciting and rewarding. I earned 1 museum credit for this. You can claim credits using the museum computer. On the computer, I was able to redeem a card. There were a lot to choose from, but I chose the water bolt, which means that my pet will shoot a ball of water at enemies, dealing 1 times damage, and this will help me out a lot in the portal. I had a new quest line with Dawn on this day, so I headed over to see what she needed. She wanted 9 yummy berries. This is something I'd been foraging, so I knew where to find them. I gathered some and then I returned them to her. On day 22, which is the next day, I received a letter from Dawn where I received a drink that she made from the yummy berries I gave her. I harvested crops and I gave 1 strawberry to the museum. Having the crops as part of the museum gives me more motivation to buy crops and work on the farming side of the game, so I will definitely be working on that more in the upcoming seasons. I went to the portal. There wasn't a boss where there had been a boss before, so I assumed that monsters just spawned completely at random, but I didn't mind too much. In every level of the portal, you must beat the enemies in order to open the next door. I just wish there was a little more going on as I'm working my way through so many doors, and I'm really curious if there will be something new to discover here or not. I found myself wanting more story because seeing the trailer of this game and how the game starts in this game, it's just very intriguing. Eventually, I do get a little bit of my story fixed though, so stay tuned. I consumed the yummy berry potion in the dungeon, not realizing that it was a potion for harvesting the crop tiles around you, not for healing. So I wasted it, but sometimes you gotta learn the hard way. The next day is day 23. I gathered silk cocoon from the worm farm, and then I went and bought seeds from Freya's. I bought corn and koopy berry, as they'd both be able to grow in autumn as well as for the rest of the summer season. I caught a size 33 soup puff and I brought it to the museum. I planted my crops and I felt really good about how it was turning out. I found silver ore in the portal, but I need to upgrade my pickaxe in order to break it. I died right before I was about to unlock the next save point. Day 24. On this day, I was determined to get more copper to upgrade my pickaxe. I went to Don's to buy some potions to take into the portals, but I couldn't afford them. I went to the portal regardless, and I stayed up too late. So spooklets chase you around until they catch you, and it's very funny and made me smile. Day 25, I spent a lot of time doing dailies, foraging, and shipping items so that I could make some money. I checked the quest board at Bram's as well, and I accepted a quest to slay 35 monsters. But as the bad gamer I am, I died before I could return the quest to him, even though I technically completed it, but it's okay, it's fine. The portal dungeon is starting to get really difficult with more and more monsters spawning. On day 26, I got a quest from Pete to cut the grass behind Sid's house. I do this quest easy peasy, and I get to choose a card for it. I end up choosing the life shield because it will help me out in the portal, and you know your girl needs help. So I went into the portal to try it out, and I rescued a pooklet, so I actually got to choose another card. I increased my HP by 10 points, which was really helpful. I ended up fainting, but because of the new ability I got from Pete, it actually saved me, and it was great. I ended up beating the boss because of this, and he dropped an amulet of luck, which I then added to the slots in my journal for extra luck. I ran home, but the spooklets were too fast and they got me. The only penalty I got for staying up too late was that I slept in a little bit later. Now, early on in the game, I learned from Dawn that moonflowers bloom one time per season. So I woke up on day 27 and it was Moonflower Day. I was unsure where the moonflower grows and I missed out on it though, which I'm scared is gonna mess up my game later on. I looked for it during the day while also doing daily tasks, such as donating to museum, foraging, and shipping items, and of course, going to the portal. This time I actually got out before I fainted, and then I went to bed. It's the 28th day already, and I do my dailies in the morning. I have a new quest with Hersha, and here comes the start of a very interesting storyline. Hersha is a little bit, or maybe a lot of bit, into her ex, Edgar the elephant. She wants him back so badly. She asked me to get her a piece of his hair. The reward for doing this, though, is getting a community gate key. There are fenced areas around town with unreachable items in them, and it would be quite nice to get that key. So we know I'm gonna do this task for the reward. I talked to Edgar and he was very against giving me a piece of his hair, claiming that Hersha wanted to make him fall in love with her again. So I scoped out his house. It's really hard to know whose house is whose, as it's not listed on the map. Only the more important buildings are, so that made this difficult. I thought maybe I'd find his hair on his pillow or something, but I had no luck. This is also when I found the drop point that the pixie had been gathering wood for me at. There's also a community project going on behind it. I don't know what it is, but I contributed some wood to that project. I did some fishing and then I donated the fish that I caught to the aquarium. And this is when I realized that I don't mind the fishing in the game. I had no luck with Edgar's piece of hair, but just wait. On day 29, I did my dailies and I received a letter from Freya. It said there was an event tomorrow for the changing of the seasons. I upgraded my pickaxe at Bram's with 1,100 gold and 5 copper bars. I found lots of silkworms for my worm farms at the upper beach. Then I ran into Sid and had a chat. He was willing to donate a piece of his hair to me. I didn't tell him why or what it was for, but I was really happy to continue this quest. I delivered the hair to Hersha, scared that she'd notice it wasn't actually Edgar's hair, but she didn't notice and she accepted it. I got the community gate key and I took some time to decide which one to unlock. I decided on this one, and then I gathered the yummy berries that were in there and chopped some wood. And I added another soup puff to the museum, and then I went to bed. Day 30. I received my upgraded pickaxe in the mail. I found another big soup puff for the museum. I've been finding a ton of them lately. I found the Tree of Seasons and attended the Changing of Seasons event in town. This event was so fun. I got to play a musical game, kind of like Guitar Hero vibes. They said I did average, and they said I'd receive a surprise in the mail tomorrow for my participation. After the event, I noticed that Hersha wanted to host her meal service today. I was really excited to try this. It's a fun Diner Dash minigame and I love it, but I couldn't figure out the controls to mix with the keyboard and mouse. So I used controller and I held the B button and that worked. I did pretty rough because of this, but I still had fun. I unfortunately didn't win a prize for helping out because I did so bad. I talked to Sid and he said that Hersha's been looking good. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's falling in love with her. I went into the portal and I accessed a new save point and then escaped before fainting. I had a super fun last day of the month. And we end on a great note as we get more story with Sid and Hersha in a cutscene in the morning of the 31st. Sid makes his move on Hersha and he's really nervous about it. Hersha is flattered but not really interested. Edgar then approaches and sees this conversation, and Hersha is kind of distraught. And Sid is pretty sad that he lost his shot, and then he sits there at the end and he's like, wait, I'm not interested in Hersha. Why am I suddenly so interested in Hersha? And he's just like super confused about it. I'm hoping this storyline continues because I'm really, really interested in knowing what will come of this. And if you were curious like I was, the surprise gift from the Changing of the Seasons festival was Dawnberry seeds that I can't even plant in this new season because they're spring seeds. In total, I played a little over 9 hours of the game so far, and I'm going to go over some pros and cons of the game, starting with the pros. So there are some cute storylines in the game that I came across, particularly my favorite one being with Hersha, Edgar, and Sid, and I don't know if more will come from that, but I really enjoyed it and I felt like it was very fleshed out and silly and fun. There's tons to do in this game, from the museum to the fishing, foraging, just a ton of stuff and a lot of content, the portal, all of that. I feel like there's a lot to do and you don't get bored in this game. The museum I really like, and now there's the bakery area that you can also donate different cooking items to. So there's a ton to collect and donate in the game. The game is overall pretty easy. I am playing on normal mode, but I wouldn't say it's extremely difficult. You can upgrade a tool in just one day. The dungeons can be grindy, but not in a particularly bad way. There are some things that could be improved there, but I will cover that in the cons. There's this card-based thing in the game where for doing quests or other things you can gain a card, and these cards can be eaten and then you gain those skills or mechanics, whatever. And then when you eat the card, you gain that skill. So these skills can be anything to help you from your farming, anything that your pet can do for you, help you in the portals, all sorts of really cool stuff that are really helpful and make the game even more enjoyable. And these cards give incentives for doing more quests in the game, going to the job board or just doing the ones that tend to pop up or doing the main quests that pop up in your quests list. The festivals in this game are unique. There was the Duck Festival that I attended and the Changing of Seasons festivals. They both had mini games in them, which were really cute and fun and unique, and I liked them. Overall, the mini games are fun. There's a mini game for the fishing, and there's a mini game that you can do with Hersha, and you can basically do like a Diner Dash type of thing at Hersha's house twice a month, and that was really fun. It kind of helps split up the gameplay even more and just, I don't know, enjoy your time, gain some rewards and stuff for that as well. The fishing isn't too bad, I don't mind it. You basically have to click at a certain time and get your hook to fall into the opening, and then you can catch a fish. You've probably seen that and understand it from my video, but it's not too hard. I didn't mind it, but I also didn't do a ton of fishing. The pet as your helper with farming is unique. Basically, your pet can till the soil for you and water crops. It takes away having to water all your crops one by one, and it makes it so there's less tools in your inventory that you're constantly carrying around, so that's helpful as well. And your pet can eventually help you in the portal, which has been very helpful for me. I haven't experienced any bugs during my gameplay, which is good and expected for the art style of this game and the gameplay, and I played on my PC through Steam. The only issue I guess I had was keyboard and mouse not knowing what button goes for this certain thing or whatever, but playing a little bit with controller seemed like controller was the way to go for this game, but I just prefer keyboard and mouse. There's also no energy meter. There are health points when you go into the portal dungeons, but there's no energy that is used up when you are mining or cutting down trees or anything like that, which is kind of nice, and I'm not used to that. Now moving on to the cons. So the biggest con for me is honestly the art style. I'm just not drawn to this art style. I don't really like it. I don't think it would be my first choice for choosing a game, but I wanted to see if I could get past that and just play the game and enjoy it anyway. The art style just feels, I guess, outdated to me. I don't know what it reminds me of, but it kind of reminds me of games from like the 2000s, which might be very appealing to some people, but to me, I just don't vibe with it, and it was the biggest thing I had to get past. There are no friendship points in this game. There's nothing in your journal that tracks your friendships with people. I don't know that that's a con, but it is something to note and something that I noticed. The dungeons, this is something I wanted to mention, is that in the dungeon, I just wish there was a map or something. I don't think there is one besides the mini map in the corner. I'd have to look and see. I just don't know how far away I am from the next save point in there. So that was a little bit difficult, but I think it's also the point. That was a little bit of a con for me because I would keep going, not knowing when I was going to get to the next save point, and then I would end up dying, and so I don't know. I have to get a better strategy. The NPCs' houses are not marked on the map. They are on the map, but you can't like select them and see whose house is whose. Most of the NPCs' houses are near the place that they work, but sometimes it was hard for me to figure out whose house was whose. And my last con is about the bigger storyline. I feel like I didn't get very far with that. I'm very curious if more will come because the trailer is very suspicious and a little creepy. So if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it. Just the way that the game is described on their Steam page makes you think there's gonna be some interesting storyline that comes along, especially with how this game starts with you getting hit by a car and then coming into the real world, which is Everafter Falls, and Earth was just a simulation. So I'm wondering if there will be more to that that's revealed later on. I only played one season, so I just might not have experienced that yet, but I kind of wish there were maybe some more hints towards that if it is coming. So that's my recap about playing about 9 hours and 1 in-game month of Everafter Falls. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much to the members of this channel for being members. And if you want to watch another video from me, you can check out this one right here. And hopefully, I'll see you in my next YouTube video. Bye!